Jurong Railway is the former railway that once carried the freight between Jurong Port and Malaysia. With a length of 19 kilometers, the railway was located between Bukit Timah and Jurong Industrial Estate. This freight rail transported the cargo between 1965 until 1993. Unique among historic railways in Singapore, this abandoned railway is the only heavy rail that was opened after the independence of Singapore. Why was Jurong Railway abandoned after being in operation for 27 years? Let's walk in the jungle and understand of the former railway between Bukit Timah and Jurong. Railway has had been in existence in Singapore since 1903 when the line between former Tank Road Station at the west of Fort Canning Hill and Kranji was opened. In 1932, a new alignment was built between Bukit Timah and Tanjong Pagar with a bigger railway station and direct access to Tanjong Pagar Port. Until the middle of 20th century, port activities were concentrated around Keppel Harbour. Today, the journey started at former Bukit Timah Station, nearby the location where Jurong Railway supposed to meet with the Kereta Api Tanah Melayu or KTM main line. KTM is the Malaysian national rail operator that was formerly operated the heavy rail operation in Singapore until 2011. A few hundred meters south of former Bukit Timah Station is supposed to be the railway junction to Jurong. The former railway track was cleared a few years back, but the jungle quickly reclaimed the land. And you might be wondering why was Jurong Railway was built. Jurong Railway was built as one of the components of Jurong Industrial Estate, the first large-scale development after Singapore achieved self-government in 1959. Around that time, unemployment was one of the biggest issues as around more than 15% of the Singaporeans at that time were out of jobs. To tackle the issue of unemployment and to attract foreign direct investment or FDI into Singapore to create job opportunities, a new industrial area was planned to be established at Jurong in 1960. The estimated cost of building the new industrial estate and township is 45.7 million Singaporean dollars, a huge sum of money at that time. However, Jurong Industrial Estate was located far from the existing KTM alignment in Singapore, which ran in the middle of the island. In the early years of Jurong, the existing road was unsatisfactory and the only major road was Jurong Road. New roads were built, swamps were reclaimed and basic utilities were installed. Jurong Railway facilitated the transport of raw materials from Peninsular Malaysia to Singapore. Rubber, timber and clinker to Singapore, and finished goods to Peninsula. The initial cost of Jurong Railway project was $3.6 million and the project was started in 9th of September 1963, just a week before Singapore joined the Federation of Malaysia. Due to hilly topography, a railway tunnel was built under Clementi Road. The cost is reported around $100,000 and completed by the early 1965. Because I did not find the railway branch at Bukit Timah due to heavy vegetation of the forest, I decided to find the tunnel nearby Singapore Institute of Management of SIM. Heavy rain fell the day before, so the jungle is less safe to walk upon. What did I do the previous day when heavy rains fell down? Watch this video to know more. With a final cost of 5.9 million Singaporean dollars, the railway was financed by Economic Development Board or EDB as part of Jurong Industrial Estate Development and built by KTM. The cost should be and would be recouped by the tonnage fee, which is the fee charged to the customers using the railway by weight. It was expected that the railway will carry around 2 to 3 million tons of cargo per year. Thus, the line was expected to generate around 3 million Singaporean dollars annually. The first train ran through Jurong Railway on 11th of November 1965, and the railway was officially opened on the 4th of March 1966. Beyond the tunnel under Clementi Road, the railway crossed Sungai Ulu Pandan. The rusted truss steel bridge is visibly seen at Ulu Pandan Park Connector. There is also a historic marker nearby. As Jurong grew from a greenfield industrial estate into a bustling satellite town, what once was the quiet old Jurong Road and newly built Jalan Ahmad Ibrahim faced serious congestion on the rush hours. In 1969, Automobile Association of Singapore has suggested to use underutilized Jurong Railway as part of a commuter line to relieve the road congestion in and out from Jurong. However, the suggestion was sidelined as Singapore has no control over the operation of KTM train services in Singapore in accordance to Singapore Railway Transfer Ordinance of 1918. I talked about KTM train services in the previous video when I took a train from Kuala Lumpur to Singapore, where KTM is fully owned by the government of Malaysia, continued to control the land and train operation in Singapore even after 1965, causing diplomatic tensions for decades. If you want to know more about this rail, the link to watch this video is right here below. As expected, the separation of Singapore from Malaysia in 1965 caused the slow decline of Jurong Railway. The railway was built in anticipation that the industries could trade between Singapore and the rest of Malaysia without barriers, no double custom inspection, same currency and same financial policies. The hope of a common market dissipated when Singapore and Malaysia established different central banks in 1967, but at least Singaporean dollar and ringgit were at par each other at that time. The currency interchangeability agreement between Brunei and Singapore with Malaysia ended when Malaysia unilaterally withdrew from the agreement in 1973. The primary reason in 1971 and 1973 that was Nixon shock, the years when the first world countries were printing money more than the value of gold reserve a country have. The economic shock further exacerbated when Arab-Israeli war happened in 1973, causing sudden increase of oil price, which is a long story. This temporary footpath is linking the park connector to the nearby flats. Next to Community Garden is the remaining of former Jurong Railway. This footpath might be the only railway level crossing in Singapore. Due to separation of Singapore from Malaysia, Jurong Railway was never reached its target of annual tonnage of 2 million tons per year. According to New Nation newspaper, Jurong Railway carried 128,000 tons of cargo in 1974, which is far lesser than 2 million tons of estimated cargo back in 1965. In fact, the 5 kilometers extension of Jurong Railway westward that has been planned in 1967 never materialized. The dredging of Benoi Channel in 1969 caused the railway to meet the dead end near ExxonMobil refinery. What are the reasons that Jurong Railway is underutilized and never reached its estimated target of annual 2 million tons of cargo? All cargo that use Jurong Railway need to clear Malaysian and Singaporean customs just to use the Jurong port. In addition to the compulsory passport travel between Singapore and Malaysia since 1967 and tighter border control, train was no longer cost effective nor fast enough. Year by year, trains cannot compete with the flexibility of the lorries and cost efficiency of the ships. Thus, lesser and lesser tonnage was recorded on the railway line. But eventually, it is faster but still economically viable to transport the cargo with the lorries across the causeway. Eventually, Jurong Railway was unceremoniously shut down in 1993 and laid abandoned ever since. Since the closure of Jurong Railway, cargo travelled by land between Singapore and Malaysia is mostly carried out by the lorries. Lorries are not enough to carry all the cargoes that previously been transported by trains. Thus, there must be a newer railway line that brought the cargo to another port, replacing Jurong Railway. In the case of Malaysia, there are. In 1983, about 18 years after the opening of Jurong Railway, a new 40 km freight railway connecting the KTM main railway line at Kempas Baru with the port of Pasir Gudang, east of Johor Bahru. The opening of the railway to Pasir Gudang reduced the need to use Jurong Railway. In 2002, another freight railway was opened between Kempas Baru again and port of Tanjung Pelepas on the west side of Johor Bahru. Zooming near Klang Valley, the railway between Port Klang and Westport in Pulau Indah was opened in 1998. Currently, East Coast Rail Line or ECRL is under construction, linking Port Klang with East Coast Port of Kuantan and industrial areas in Terengganu and Kelantan. ECRL is scheduled to be in operation by 2027. Not only Malaysia has replaced Jurong Railway with the domestic freight lines, the KTM main line between Woodlands and Tanjung Pagar is no longer in operation since 2011. Most of the land that formerly used for KTM rail operation has been returned to Singapore and becomes rail corridor, spare the remaining short railway in Woodlands checkpoint. As a result, Jurong Railway will never be rehabilitated to its original purpose. After the unceremonious closure of Jurong Railway in 1993, the land is slowly returned to the nature. Some parts of the Jurong Railway was lost to the rapid development in the land scarce country. For example, the track between Clementi Avenue 6 and Commonwealth Avenue West has disappeared due to development of HDB BTO flats on the site. There is a plan to rejuvenate most of the former Jurong Railway alignment as a second rail corridor to connect the first rail corridor at Bukit Timah with Clementi and Pandan. Well, most of it. With the success of the first rail corridor between Kranji and Tanjung Pagar, second rail corridor utilizing parts of the former Jurong Railway is in the planning. The second rail corridor is expected to be open at the end of 2026, which is 2 years after this video was made. Until the rehabilitation of former Jurong Railway into the second rail corridor, the railway will be continued to be hidden in the jungle and may eventually forgotten. Have you ever heard of the Jurong Railway before? You can write down in the comment section. If you want to see the remnants of former Jurong Railway, the alignment is located between former Bukit Timah Station to Jurong via Clementi, Teban Gardens and Boon Lay. The track is largely abandoned in the jungle or in the middle of industrial area and still can be seen today. But beware, unlike the rail corridor, there is no proper pathway throughout the former alignment of Jurong Railway as in 2025. You are on your own. One of the safest way to see the former track is near Sunset Way Community Garden near Block 301 and 305 Clementi Avenue 4. The nearest MRT station is Clementi on East West Line. Reference list in the form of articles is in the description for your further reference. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new about former Jurong Railway and its short-lived function as a cargo connector between Singapore and Malaysia. Thank you so much for watching again and see you in the next video.